And we are live. Episode 15, Robot Mentality Podcast. Welcome back. Kind of late at night, not our normal time. I'm here with Mr. Nailer. Go ahead and sound off.
What's going on, guys? Sick
And,
Nailer here with Mr. Rudin.
and we are here. We're back. A little off schedule. We both had kind of conflicting stuff going on as of late. Nick's out here big braining in the new place, settling in. So that's kind of been something for him the past few weeks. But good to be back. Good to be back. And we actually have audio this time. So
So you should be able to hear this.
You should be able to hear the first 15 minutes this time. Very cool.
We got destroyed last time. 15 minutes you couldn't hear, and then the last 2 minutes was me trying to wrap it up with you going,
yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I was like, yes. But
yeah.
you couldn't hear me say it.
Maybe.
So yeah,
that was scuffed. That was bad. So
yeah, it's been a busy week and a half. We are winding down. For some reason in the last week, I just got sick of following news headlines and like the stock market. Like this whole time I had been like following it every day. Like I still check what it does every day, and like I was just consuming the articles. And now I don't know why it died. If it was just, it's been 3 months of it. Well, more like 4 actually.
Just I don't know. That's why I've been reading like Zero Hedge for one. I've just been reading a handful of things, but no matter what it is, I can't take the news right now at all. And even CNBC, like I was not trading last week. I put some money on calls for McDonald's. If that plays out or it doesn't, I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna read news surrounding it. I'm not keeping up with it anymore. I'm taking a break. So
you're gonna let it ride for a while.
I'm gonna let it ride. It's honestly like it's just it's like even no matter what the news is, I think it's so bad to constantly keep up with news, even if it's like purely financial news. Like I don't know. It's one of those things where you like feel like you have to keep up. So I don't know if you get that or if you feel that.
Yeah,
or like
well,
every morning I have to be on CNBC. I'm like, I gotta get off that for a week.
Because I guess like every move in the market can sometimes be explained by like a certain article, but at the same time you realize that like it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter what the article says or even what the headline is. Like it's just the market's gonna move from it, and it doesn't change anything about the real world really.
Yeah.
That I just got sick of it.
Yeah.
But well, I don't know.
It's like with CNBC, like their futures articles, right? Because sometimes I just checking on futures in the evening, but they'll literally, so futures have been, the past few weeks have been insane. They're just bouncing. It's green, it's red, it's green, it's red. Then it opens massively green or opens massively red. Like it just bounces all night. But they literally just have a running article that they sit and update. So futures will open, say we're down 200 on the Dow, right? And freaking futures down on coronavirus second wave fears. And then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, we're up 200 points on the Dow. Yeah. It says futures optimistic due to second wave of coronavirus. Like, okay, like they literally like, just flip the spectrum.
I don't even think that's a real. That's not even a real person updating. That's probably just a bot. It has to be.
It could be, yeah.
I don't know if it is, but that's the type of thing I'm saying. Like, you 100% nailed it with why I got sick of following.
Yeah, they really don't. I mean, they don't know why the market's moving. They just bring some BS reason up as to why it would be moving. Because same thing when J Powell or Jerome, I guess a week and a half ago, it was like not this Thursday but last Thursday. He we had the Fed conference, one of the first in a few weeks, and he he was talking, and then the market started to pump, right? So market up on J Powell optimism, Fed optimism, bull statement, whatever. And then he started taking questions for like an hour, which was really stupid, and it made him look really bad. And then we started drilling off those answers, and then all of a sudden that same article is bearish outlook from the Fed, J Powell makes the market, it's just like they find some reason to keep flipping because nobody really knows what's going on.
Well, if the news is the same every day, there's no reason for anyone to ever look at it. Yeah. That's probably part of
I just mean media. that was within like 30 minutes. We pumped and they're like, bullish outlook, Fed, blah, 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 blah. And then we start drilling and it's like bearish outlook from Fed. And it was the same speech, right? They interpreted it in two different ways within 30 minutes. It's like,
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think news
I
is AIDS. I think we have Zero Hedge and Joe Rogan and a handful of others, and I think you can get along just fine only listening to that type of stuff.
Joe Rogan.
100%.
We've talked about.
That is
I
such a
think we've talked about
meme,
Joe
but
Rogan on here before.
have we?
It's good stuff. I haven't listened to it in a
I
long
haven't listened to
time.
him in a minute,
I
but
think since his most recent Elon one. But
same.
so one article we got to talk about that came. Robin, I don't have the actual headline here. Well, here's one. Apparent
Just keep going.
suicide by 20-year-old Robinhood trader who saw a negative $730,000 balance. Blah, blah. So, like, he's 20 years old. So that's like you. You're 20, right? Or are you 21?
Yep.
Yeah.
20. Yeah, 20.
20. So, yeah, he saw a negative 700 grand balance in his account and he killed himself. Tragic, right? 700, it showed that it was a glitch in the app. It wasn't even real. And now Robinhood has to make app changes and all this, but there's so many ways you can go from this. What's your like initial thought on it?
Initial thought, I mean, there's two sides of the coin, right? First off, this kid was apparently pretty bright. He was going like University in Nebraska studying business or something. So, he's not necessarily a dumb kid, right? He's probably fairly intelligent, and he has interest in finance. Wanted to get in on Robinhood, like myself included. Robinhood's was the foot in the door for me just because it's so simple to use. It's like it's sad because he saw that number and immediately, if I opened my Robinhood and saw that I apparently owed $730,000, I would be shocked. And you'd get hit with like that adrenaline of like, oh my gosh. But at the same time, it seems like you would be able to think through what positions you were playing. If you were only playing, this kid probably didn't have more than $5,000. There's no way to drill $5,000 to $730,000. You know what I mean? So I kind of wonder what happened there. I feel like there's something. I don't know if that makes sense, because it's like, it seems like he'd be able to think through, unless he really just had never done, knew nothing about stocks, nothing about options, whatever, right? It seems like first thing you would do is try to call Robinhood or contact them or whatever, but I guess he immediately took that number to heart, and he's like, oh my gosh, my family's going to be indebted. I gotta, because apparently he killed himself, so his family wasn't liable for his debt or something. That was something.
That's insane.
So I don't know. It's crazy. At the same time, though, Robinhood, and I haven't put money into my Robinhood forever. I've just been playing with what's in there, and bounced up and down. And I think I'm gonna keep that money in the Robinhood. The plan is just to open in E-Trade for long-term portfolio, and I'm gonna eventually move my stuff to Thinkorswim that's in my Robinhood. But Robinhood is terrible. It's not a good app. The only thing good about it is it's so dumbed down that anybody can get on it and kind of understand what's going on. So that's their strength. But at the same time, and the more I've read about Robinhood, and other brokerages in general, I mean, it's a bad it's a bad system the way. So Robinhood, and I think we were talking about this before we started, but like with options, for example, if there's not a current bid on your option, say your option just sold for $1 premium, so that'd be $100. What you have, if there's not a current bid, it just shows it as a penny in your account, so that's equivalent to $1, right? Because times 100. So that could make people panic sell immediately when they see that their option that was just doing fine is all of a sudden worthless. If you don't really understand your options entirely, especially if you're really new, that forces you, that might make you panic sell, right? And I was reading something actually from Zero Hedge talking about how Robinhood, that's kind of the culture they wanted, was to get these new retail investors to panic sell, because then a lot of the market is bot driven now, whether people like that or not. From especially a lot of the big institutions, they have bots that are specifically made to scalp contracts, right? So they specifically track when an option goes for way below value when it's posted, because if you were to try to sell that option that shows it's worthless and you just hit sell, it automatically just sells it at $1, right? So people, bots pick that up immediately and scoop it up. So that's what Robinhood wants, which is a very bad system. in my opinion, I think like Thinkorswim does this. If you have an option, it's no matter what the current bids are, it's just going to show you what the last value sold was, which is what makes sense, like a normal stock, right? Your thing isn't worthless just because there's not a current bid. Like if you're trading a low volatility stock, say it only has like 50,000 trades a day, maybe, or maybe even less than that. There are definitely stocks of less than that. And all of a sudden, say it's a $20 stock and there's no current bids, so now it's just zero. Like that, it doesn't make sense. It's not a good system. Yeah, I'm kind of going off. Do you want to build off that? I got a few more points with Robinhood.
Yeah, well, I don't understand. If you trade options, you don't. I mean, you get insane amounts of leverage, but you don't. It's not like an infinite.
You can't drill. Yeah.
Yeah, you literally can't. All you can ever be out is what you spent on premiums.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing. I read into the article a little bit a minute ago, and what I was browsing, he was doing calls and puts. So he should have known. Obviously, I don't know everything, and he probably kind of knew what was going on if it was, serious enough to do what he did. But there's no way that it would have even been plausible that he was 730 in the hole.
Yeah.
But if you're day trading, I know that like it's not very hard to get approved to trade with like 100 leverage, like 100x leverage. 100X. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know what Robinhood's cap is, but I know you can get leverage pretty easily. Like market.
I know when I was trying to learn about day trading, like maybe a year and a half ago, like that's how they recommend you do it. Because you need that leverage to make any sort of
money. Yeah, when you're
big money, because
moves.
Right. Yeah, you capitalize on 10-cent moves with maybe 10 grand of your own capital, but then you're actually trading. It's like, I guess 100x would be a million, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the first thing I think, and why I'm definitely not saying it's fishy, but it doesn't quite all add up.
Yeah.
Like you kind of made the point right away.
And obviously, sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say that shows what Robinhood is right now, and like obviously a lot of articles have been being made of Robinhood because their traders are manipulating the market so much, like Hertz we saw, and just really any penny stock has like
is prime Robinhood real estate.
Right. Like I was quick tangent. Potbelly Subs makes the best subs in the world. Their stock was like $2 a couple weeks ago, and like I almost bought it just because I was like, they have the best sandwiches. I bet their stock is gonna do good, and I didn't because that's a stupid reason to invest. But then like a week later, it was like up like 100% basically. And I was like, well, what happened? I couldn't even figure it out, but I'm pretty sure like it was just like Robinhood traders. Like you find, you got your technical, you call them retail investors, right? Like the people who do it themselves.
Yeah, that's what CNBC would call them.
That's not even what they're not even investors, but yeah, they're looking at charts and then they shoot these stock prices up. So
yeah,
this is really just like gambling. It's not like quite like buying a lottery ticket, but I would say it's kind of almost like, in the same category as like sports gambling or something. Like you have a hunch that something's going to do something. And if it doesn't, which usually it's kind of like a 50-50 in a way.
Yeah.
Because odds are made. Stock's either going to go up or it's going to go down. Then I don't know. It's just like it's just like how gambling just became legal. Now, this is a brand new type of gambling that's legal. And I don't really view it as much more than that if you don't have any long-term outlook.
Yeah, that's fair.
But people are making a ton of money, but, for someone to make money, someone has to lose money. So you would hope it's, just capitalizing on the movements of, say, a big hedge fund invests, and you can capitalize on, you make the market liquid and kind of arbitrage opportunities. And that's what day trading has always been. It's people actually like facilitating a market. That's not what this is anymore. This is just like masses gambling and shooting stocks up and down, which I guess that doesn't.
I think
that's what caused all these people to do it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of foul play too, and I'll get into that in a second. The one thing when you say day trading though is a lot of the I think I've seen like the average Robinhood user has I think it's like $800 in their account, so they're not even past the 25 grand legal limit to actually be able to day trade. So they get three day trades every 5 trading days. Because that's one thing a lot of these hedge fund managers have talked about. Like, the stock market's only propped up by Robinhood right now and all this. And that's just not. Yeah, Robinhood's manipulating certain stocks. And there's actually a website, I think it's called Robin Track, which tracks the most traded Robinhood stocks. And it's like, Ford, GE, all these different penny stocks, ACB, the weed company. It's all these meme stocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so they might be propping up, a pool of 20 or 30 individual stocks, but they're not propping up the market. The market is not propped up by the million users that each have $800 in their account average. So, but the thing is, so I haven't looked into this too deeply. One, I don't know how it's legal, because I've even seen on Wall Street Bets, you can get an insane amount of margin with no collateral, and I don't understand how that's legal. That I can't wrap my mind around that, how that's okay. When you have $100 in your account, that you could potentially get like 10 grand of margin, which just, like, with you putting forth nothing, that just doesn't make sense to me. That's honestly just Robinhood trying to indebt brand new people, so you owe them money for a long time. Like, that's the only way I see it.
Is it Robinhood actually doing the lending then? I guess it has to be.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
I
how
would
that
think it would
works.
be. I would think so, but I truly don't know.
I don't know, yeah, because, and I just want to clarify for anyone listening doesn't know what leverage is. Leverage just means, you put, if you have like 10 times leverage, it means if you have $10, you can trade stocks worth $100, like you own them, which is great if you do well, because then you have 10 times the profits. But if you lose
losses,
if you lose all of it, it's 10
Yeah.
times the losses, and that's what you can't recover from because you don't have that money.
Yeah. So I don't understand how he could have gotten this much leverage, first off. So if it was a glitch, it was a glitch. I don't know how this would have, popped up. That's really bad on their end, that you just all of a sudden they're negative $730,000. That does not add up in any way, shape, or form. But secondly, the only way I could think that he could actually rack up debt is if he was selling calls and puts, like actually writing the contracts, which you can do that on margin, and you only need options approval, which I don't agree with. I think with options approval, you should only be able to buy and then sell those contracts, right? I don't think.
So you're saying he was like writing the contracts?
Yeah.
Basically?
So if you're the one writing the contract, because you can do that on margin, so you could write an interweek, SPY call or put, right, and you could get screwed very quickly, especially.
And he didn't have the underlying.
If you don't,
he didn't have the underlying.
If you don't have the underlying capital, that's all going to go margin. So you could rack up that very, very quickly. But I don't understand why they would let you do that. So you can do it on margin, yes, but like even to owe $730,000, he would have to written so many contracts, even if it was SPY or something. Like, unless he's writing Amazon contracts, which there's no way they'd even let you write one Amazon contract on margin. I mean, maybe you can. That's writing contracts is a very risky business, because
I feel like that should be illegal.
It should be illegal, because when you get approved, because like for example, when people come in Wall Street Bets, when I'm in there, there will always be some new guy like, how to do this, how to do that, and people walk them through them, and like the first thing you see, that sell part in the options area, you never click that, right? You never click that, because I think literally like in 2 clicks, you automatically have margin available to you, and it will just sell it like that, like you wrote a contract, which should not be legal in any way, shape, or form. You should have to have a certain balance or a certain amount of time in the market on that brokerage or something to have access to that.
Like, think about that for a second. Like, so typically when we buy options, people buy options, you're like buying it. The person who wrote that should be like a big, like, money manager or someone covering their own shares. Like, that's how a lot of people are protecting themselves and their portfolios. They're hedging their bets. So you're like helping create something good in the market. If you're just selling, you're just putting an option contract to an existence when those assets aren't already owned by like anyone in the transaction. That's completely useless,
all liability
fluff.
Yeah.
Of where one person is going to lose all the money and one person will, several people, as they buy and sell that option contract, will make the money. Dang, that's crazy. I
It is
didn't know that. That,
crazy, and
that seems wrong.
I don't know how it's legal. I think that's something that should actually be visited because I'm sure. I mean, Robinhood's been in the limelight, so I'm sure there's going to be, they say there's going to be changes, but there should be changes across the board. I don't know. There's all these mobile platforms now, like the other big ones, like Webull or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure you can trade options on that, and I'm sure it's pretty similar where you don't need anything, right? But you shouldn't even have access to margin if you don't have the funds to put up. Like I don't think you should be able to leverage yourself. Even if it's like if you're over $1,000, then you can have some margin access, right? But giving people 10 times or anything like that's just insane in my mind. And then we have stupid rules. Like I think if you really want the market to appeal to newer traders, they would take away the day trading rule or at least expand it or just lower the amount of 25 grand, right? Because then you wouldn't. Well, one, I would, the retail investors don't move the market, but across the board, it seems like that would at least bring up liquidity somewhat when people can get in and out. But I don't know the repercussions of that. But I think that's a stupid rule, and then I think it's stupid that you can get into options so quickly. You shouldn't be able to leverage yourself at all very quickly, I don't think. But
I just don't think anything going on is good with like the volume of people who have no clue what they're doing
yeah,
trading.
that's
Like
true.
that makes me think
Well,
that like commission costs should come back. Like they shouldn't because it doesn't take someone to enter the trade anymore.
yeah.
But this is like it's not good.
Yeah, well,
That's not
I get what you're saying there, but the app should really just forewarn people. The first thing when you open Robinhood, especially if you make a new account, it literally should have a whole page on like only put in this account what you can be willing to lose. Like you're not going to lose your house if you put $500 in and lose it all, okay? Because they're definitely, I've seen the stories, man. There's definitely people that have bet their next 3 months rent on something and gotten screwed. It's like with anything. It's like, gambling addicts. If you're freaking playing poker or buying lotto tickets or anything, it's the same idea. So the education aspect needs to be there. I don't. It's just so far beyond me, and the brokers are just kind of crappy overall, which we can get into in a second. Any final thoughts on this before we move on? I kind of want to get into
Yeah, let's
something else
move
about
on.
Robinhood.
Yeah, I don't want to beat the dead horse too hard.
Yeah, very very tragic though.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, just remember. I mean, and it's like with me, I've gone up and down and up and down. My account's hopped all over the place, but I'm not putting more money into it, and my account goes to zero. I can afford to lose that, right? So I just worry because I've seen a lot of stories as of late, a lot of news articles, a lot of posts on like Wall Street Bets and stuff of people that put in, money their family really needed and lost it, and it's just like only put in what you can lose unless you're buying for the long term. I guess I don't know, even at that. But
And if it ever comes to it, you can always go bankrupt.
Always...
You don't have to resort to any other crazy,
That's true.
things.
Yeah, there are people
Won't
that will
really
help
let
you
go
if you ever
bankrupt.
see that crazy number that you owe. There's
Hit up
ways to get
Robinhood.
out of it. So one other thing with Robinhood that I want to talk about, and I was reading about this, and I think this is so disgusting. 'Cause one, and I'm sure you'd agree with this just by the Fed existing and what they do at this point, but this is not a free stock market, right? This is totally, if you're a market mover, if you're a big shot, it's a rigged market. It really is. But kind of spinning off that, so I was reading about the brokers that do this. It's pretty much all of them, from what I understand. But Robinhood's kind of been the focus of, I guess, quote unquote, exposing this practice. So what Robinhood does, they're a free app, obviously. They do somewhat, they kind of charge like this underlying commission where they technically show that, say you sell a stock for $12, it will technically show up as like 11.98 because they scalp 2 pennies off it. So whatever you sell it for is technically a few cents less, apparently. Okay, which is scummy. They should just sell it at 12 and show you a 2-cent commission for all anybody cares, right? I think it's stupid to keep people blind on that. But secondly, so what all the brokers do it apparently, I think it's disgusting, and this just tells you how rigged the market is. But so when people put in, limit orders or stop losses or whatever, okay, it's like a limit order where where I'm set up to buy 10 shares of DraftKings if it drops from 30.50 to 30, right? So if it hits 30,
Mm-hmm.
it automatically buy the shares for me. I can be out at the gym or something, put that order in the morning. If it dips, it will buy for me, right?
Yeah.
So same thing with losses. So say you own 10 shares of DraftKings and you got it at a good price. It's up to 30.50, and I'm setting a stop loss. So if it hits $30, it automatically sells for me. I don't have to do it, right? It just does it on its own, which is very
Mm-hmm.
useful. It's good that those things exist. But what Robinhood does and the brokers is they sell that information, which is really, really freaking scummy, if you ask me. I mean, that just ruins the whole ideal of the market right there. And the buyers of these information are all the big financial institutions, right? So it helps them set up where support is, where resistance will be, and they can map that out for the future. Not super far, but at least within the day, or within whatever. If they know that from Thinkorswim, from Robinhood, from Webull, from this, we have 4 million people have put a stop loss at $30 for DraftKings. So that means if it hits 30, there's going to be a sell off or a slight sell off, right? So it's
Yeah.
just really, really, really freaking scummy. And I don't know. I think there's so much wrong with the stock market that it's. When I was digging into that, I just like that just bothers me. I don't know. Give me a take.
Well, yeah, that's ridiculous, and there should be something that comes out to make that illegal. And you talking about just saying the stock. I mean, this isn't necessarily Robinhood, but just now with the government buying, they were buying. What were they buying at first? They were
So they
buying.
were
Were they buying corporate
buying
bonds?
they were buying ETFs that held
ETFs.
certain corporate junk bonds, essentially.
Now they're just going to go straight out and buy
Buy
actual
bonds.
corporate bonds.
Yeah.
Eventually, if it gets
It's
bad
gonna
enough,
be
they'll
equities.
well, it's technically illegal to just invest in individual stocks. But I was reading that there's like ways that they can get around that, and
Yeah, so
um,
they can use a middleman, so they'll pay. I don't remember the title of the middleman, but they give money to a middleman, and the middleman owns it on their behalf. So it's really just them buying it. It's a stupid workaround, you know. But
yeah. So the government literally has infinite resources to do whatever they want, and all those things, all those all those factors go in just to making a market that is, I would say, almost basically free. Free market to go up and down, but there's definitely like people and like entities that are able to take advantage of
yeah,
way more knowledge that they have and just like making it do what they want it to do at the expense of others who don't, or just like the everyday person who has no clue what's going on.
yeah. Well, it's like and people criticize all the hedge fund managers for this, but and a lot of top financial analysts, and we've had this conversation before, where on a Monday, J.P. Morgan will say, their top analyst will say, recession's canceled. And the next day they're saying, we're in a recession, right? The same exact
Same
dude
exact
within a
guy.
2 day sentence, the same exact person writing two different articles in a 2 day span, right? Polar opposites. So do they really know what's going on? No. But especially with the hedge fund managers, when they come out and we all of a sudden drill because, you know, what is it, David Ackman? I'm getting the name wrong, but he's just an example that comes to mind. I definitely have that name wrong. But
Oh, you're talking.
let's say a big shot hedge fund manager comes out and says, we're green on the day. Then he tells everybody this market's extremely overvalued, and you should be taking your profits and all this, right? And that's happened multiple times throughout this whole COVID thing, where we've been green on a day and actually ended the day red because of a statement like that. Or at least, well, that's what the news lines claim is why everybody sold off. How many of these people that have billions and billions and billions of dollars in the market, and they're super well known and can call CNBC or CNN Money and get an interview at any point throughout the day, right? At any time they want. Did they just
Yeah.
actually short the market and then go tell everybody it's super freaking overvalued? Because there's nothing to track that, right? It's literally just free money. Warren Buffett's, he's getting memed right now, so I don't know if he could do it as much, but he could come tell us tomorrow that McDonald's stock is a $50 stock, and there would definitely be negative movement in the stock if Warren Buffett said that, right? But
Yeah.
he could go leverage himself on the downside and then just go say that and make unlimited money because you already have billions in the market, right? You could throw a huge chunk of change at it. So there's a lot of things like that I almost think we need to get to a point, which we never will. This is like a utopian market type of thing, where somehow everybody's trading records have to be public. But I don't know. Even if it's super delayed, right? It could be super delayed, but there is so much dark money moving in the market that it's disgusting.
Doesn't the U.S. do something like that, where like after like however many years that case has become open, like it's like 30 years, and then you can like read like
maybe
classified information. Yeah. That just happened with some event. Like stuff from like the Cold War is all out now. I think it might be like 50 years.
I remember what you're talking about.
Or 30 years.
Something about that. I mean, maybe that's what needs to be done to the stock market, and maybe have it on like a 1-year rolling basis. So if somebody really wants to go investigate and see that Warren Buffett placed he bought a ton of puts and he shorted AAL, UAL, and Love right before he went in his Berkshire conference and said they dump in the airlines, right? Then, I mean, it needs to be known information. It needs to be known information for politicians, too, because they, right and left, all of them get rich, not because of anything they did, but because they all insider trade, because they have access to perfect information, right? They're the ones that approve mergers, they approve new drugs, they get all the info, so, but... And to piggyback off this, to kind of move away from that, one more thing regarding the markets. I was reading about this yesterday, and there's actually ways. So yesterday was a historic day because somebody gave me the figure and sent it to me. I don't remember it offhand. It was over like 30% of volatility, though. That 30% of what happened in the market was not on public brokerages. It was under the table. There are apparently these ways big institutions can trade completely privately. I think that's screwed as well. So just adding to that, if you have to trade it to where it can't easily be tracked, then that doesn't make sense to me. It seems like there's something going on there you're wanting to hide. But
there's so much corrupt with everything, politics.
Yeah,
finance.
I don't even know what to think about the market, but it just worries me because it's like, not even from an equities or overvalued type of standpoint, which I think they somewhat are at the moment. I think the Fed is a little more bearish than people think with what they've done, but it's just like how many things are moving at once underground that could actually hurt the market, unrelated to what the current general consensus is, right? Like just people doing dark things and, I don't know. Making some sort of crash happen, but
that's the whole world. But we don't gotta get too
dude.
Trying to think.
Being a forensic accountant for the FBI and specifically working, or no, we'll say like a forensic accountant for the SEC and like tracking what these big hedge fund managers do and stuff. Probably see some stuff, man. I'm telling you, I'm sure the SEC turns a blind eye.
Yeah, probably. Well, I funny you say that. Have I told you about how I kind of would like to? I don't know that it's something I'll actually pursue, but I got like a job recommendation on LinkedIn, like for like an FBI accountant for what was the word you just said? I can't think of the
like forensic accounting or whatever.
Yeah, forensic accountant. Just like go in and like make sure that businesses and individuals are being legal with their money and go in and I think that'd be so
interesting
cool.
As heck, dude. Those dudes, from what I've heard too. They'll even have people in like actual FBI raids when they're like raiding offices and stuff. They actually have the accountants there, and your laptop, you're locked and loaded, you're doing some stuff, and that's actually so badass.
That's sick. Yeah, because I was reading it and I was like, I researched it quite a bit, and you have to pass. You got to
traveling. Basically, like you gotta go through their camp or whatever, but
it's a 12-week thing, and I think it's in Quantico, Virginia, and you do that, and yeah, like you have to pass all the physical tests and you participate in raids. You're like, it's basically where finance and like military combines, like in a
Yeah.
cool way, I think.
Yeah.
I
No,
was
that
never
would really be
interested in,
dope.
yeah, you got to be 23 before you can apply, but that's like, if life were to go a certain way, I could definitely see myself wanting to do that.
That would just be, and just for people that work in the FBI really can't talk about what they do, no matter where you are in the FBI. You're not
Just say you work
supposed to
in
talk
like
about it. You just gotta
international
say you
relations.
work in, yeah, something like that. That would be, I mean, you definitely have to be up for the lifestyle. And I've actually thought about this before, but that's just like such a badass thing where somebody asks you what you do and you're like, I can't legally tell you what I do. Like that's, I don't know. Just that answer has a dope
Yeah, so,
mystique to it. I mean, they
or
might
like
think you're
yeah,
dealing cocaine, but
hey, whatever works. But it's like a ridiculous, like a work balance lifestyle. Like it
yeah, that's
says
an
you
all in type of thing.
I think it said work at least 50. I think it was 50 hours a week, which isn't crazy. But that work weekends, holidays,
Yeah,
always be on
yeah.
call. Like you're a workaholic if you
That's
do that. But I think
something. That's something that if you're a young buck, you want to go get some just top tier experience. You go do for 2 years and then you evaluate from there. But
right, yeah, I think
I
it's
think
a
it's
3 year
cool.
minimum,
Oh, 3 year. Okay.
but still, it's still short. Like you can be
Yeah.
done by like your mid to late 20s
Because I don't.
easily.
Part of me, and I don't have any background in any FBI related stuff outside of somewhat accounting, being an accounting minor, which isn't much. Like just being an FBI agent in general would be so cool. Like I don't know, be so dope. I don't think I could handle that lifestyle, but
I
just the
don't think
idea
that
of it's
I'm.
so cool.
I think the way that I am right now, I'd probably rather not do that sort of thing either. But it's sweet. I also looked in the CIA too, but I think FBI is cooler than CIA
I
because
do too.
you do it's more like physical type things
Hmm.
that you do with the FBI, and I think that'd be like challenging and fun.
Yeah, that's just
You
something
make
too.
like
I feel like yeah, maybe you're working 50 hours a week, but say you're just on some freaking, for whatever reason, some urgent case, and yeah, you're working all day, but you're with the team, you're researching this, pulling this, bada bing, bada boom, driving here, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that would go by way faster than people, it's like a big adrenaline
yeah,
rush type of thing.
very yeah, it's like it's very engaging.
Yeah.
Like
Which is
I
cool.
have I've had several jobs that 40 hours like feel very different. Some go by quick, some suck, and some
Yeah.
like just drag because you're not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
We've talked about that, I
The idea of,
think. But go ahead.
I was just going to say the idea of catching people is just like, that always interests me. Like, if I had the money, I think now is as good of time as ever to have a private security business, whether that be for cybersecurity for businesses or like for physical security for certain people. Um, just with the way the country is right now. But that would be a dope job too, because there's a lot of big shot private security companies that are actually really cool, and it's all staffed by former FBI agents or former CIA guys or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the type of stuff you could do when you're done. You probably make even more money
Yeah,
and like have a better
actually
work
get to
life
have a
balance.
yeah, and actually get to kind of have a life too. But I need to
Right.
let me find the picture. I think I sent this to you.
See it. Bill Ackman, by the way, is the name.
Bill Ackman, yeah. Okay.
He's the guy who shorted Herbalife and was like wrong forever.
Can you see my screen right now? Or I'll just send this to you actually. This was from DC a little while ago when people were on the fence, but just on the topic of CIA, Secret Service, everything, I can genuinely say, and Pete, there are probably guys that would deny it, but every male wants to be this guy. Like, just seriously wants to be this guy. Like,
So,
that is
look at
just
that
the most
rifle.
badass picture I've seen in forever. When I saw this,
I wonder what he was doing.
he was
Just
definitely a
crowd
mile
control?
away in a tower, on probably one of freaking 100, getting different angles.
Yeah, that's
Like
sick. I had a
every
teacher.
every male wants to be this guy. Like, am I wrong? Like when you look at this guy, everybody wants to be this guy.
Yeah, I agree. My teacher in 5th grade literally was that dude. It looks like him. Like he was. So he came. He was from Florida. He's probably one of my favorite people I've ever met. Dope. I haven't heard from him since I was in like 5th grade, obviously, but he was in the CIA, I believe, before he came to be a teacher. He was there for like 2 years. I'm pretty sure it was the CIA. He would like never tell us about it, but he was like he'd be like, I can't tell you, but then on the download he'd be like, yeah, I was in the CIA. And then he left after a year to go be in the airborne, like a division of the army. Like it's basically like the army dudes who jump out of planes.
Damn.
And then he would like send us stuff once in a while, like later on, and then eventually he just like went off the grid, and like we didn't know what happened to him.
Damn.
Then like a few years later, we heard he was like a special agent.
That was just one of his identities, was a teacher. That was all a cover for a hit he was in that whole time.
Yeah, there's probably something going on in our small town Wisconsin. But yeah, it literally looks like a dude. He had the fattest beard. He's just jacked. I don't know. He was like the first time like ever like growing up. I was like, nah, that dude is cool.
This is the embodiment. If you had to take testosterone and visualize testosterone, this is testosterone. Like this is this is literally the ideal male. I don't know. I think it's so badass.
I don't know. I feel like he's a little small. He could be bigger.
Well, okay. I don't mean body wise. I just mean the whole persona, like everything going on. Like
he's got the look of
badass
like,
looking dude, badass look, got a massive gun, Secret Service top sniper type of deal. You know, it's like what was the movie American Sniper? Like even if you don't like shooting guns or anything military related, like the idea of being the American Sniper is just so badass. It's
got a fat silencer in it, so you can just
dude, that thing. If somebody tried to climb the fence when it was really bad in DC, I wonder, like, it would have been insane. Not even this guy, like, right when they crossed the line of the fence, I mean, it probably would have been. There probably literally would have been 50 bullets shot at once at the same person. Like there were probably 50 of these dudes a mile away or 2 miles away in towers with wicked angles, right? Sitting there freaking calculating wind speed all night and getting ready. Like, I don't know, big brain type of stuff.
Sometimes, yeah, like that type of stuff just makes me think once in a while, like I should just go in the military or like something of that nature. And that's why I think I would like the FBI so much. I'm looking at the graffiti in the picture. It's kind of making me laugh. The one is it's got 12 in one of the circles with the line through it.
Where is it in this? Oh, right here.
In the background.
What is that supposed to stand for? Enlighten me.
Like it's like a thing everyone always says, like F12, like screw 12, which 12 is police. Like 12 stands for police.
Really?
So then it's just like, yeah.
Oh, did not know that.
Pretty sure. Let me Google that.
Yeah, no, you're
I'm
probably
pretty sure it's like a circle. Yeah, it's in the Migos have a song. That's
the Migos. The Migos.
Yeah, 12 is just police. It's a police drug unit. That's what it is. Gotcha. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. One thing before we're completely off the topic, which we'll probably just hit one more thing briefly, and then we'll make it a little shorter tonight. I wanted to add, I always say his name wrong, but it's one of Trump's advisors, as like Munichen or something. Do you know?
Munchin or something.
Munchin, yeah. He so apparently they're making the people that got the coronavirus, the small business loans, right? They're gonna make all that info public, like a full list, and apparently a lot of hedge funds took the small business loans. Well, a lot of public corporations did. A lot of big ones, like Shake Shack was one of the big ones to get heat for it, but a ton of them did. But imagine being a hedge fund manager and claiming you're so good, right? Claiming you're just the biggest badass in the world, and you're literally a hedge fund manager. So when the market tanked, that's your prime time to roll. That's what you do, right? You should be making money, and taking out small business loans that should have gone to small businesses. I think that's very despicable, but just had to add that in before we're completely off the dark side of the market type of thing, because I think a lot of the hedge fund managers are absolute just douches. But
that's fair. I also think I didn't realize. Okay, I heard small business loans all this time. For some reason, I was thinking that was more like grant money. Like I didn't realize all these small businesses are gonna have to pay that back. I guess obviously since it's a loan.
Well,
but I also thought it was part of the relief package. So.
Yeah, they've had a few waves. So it was part of the main relief package, but they've also had separate relief packages specifically for small business money. How a lot of it is stated, though, for the most part, you really could get away with not paying it, from what I understand. It's kind of a quote-unquote forgivable loan, if that makes sense. Yeah. That might depend on how much you actually got. But say you're a local business type of thing, from what I've read, you are not going to have to pay that if you don't want to.
That's good. I mean, I almost see that as good because maybe I don't know in the broader sense of things. I should think about that before I actually say it. But like, how is a small business going to take loans and then pay it back? Like, how are they ever going to make money? If they
Yeah.
borrow, 30 grand right now to keep operations open, but they only, it would take forever to pay that back, and they
Yeah.
would never actually make money. Like the goal of that.
It's a mess though. And then like yeah, I mean, small businesses need a bump. Um but the amount, like if they when and if they really publish this list, I mean the corporate list as of a month ago of what was known what corporations took, like massive companies that don't need the $50 million they could have been eligible for or whatever, right? They're just being greedy. Um,
Yeah.
they should have to pay it. So they should somehow set some sort of threshold where if you're publicly traded and you're taking a small business loan, you should be liable to pay it with interest. But we'll see if it happens.
Agreed. I'm with you on that one.
All right. Well, what do we
I
want
don't
to
know how you
hit before we log her off for this Saturday night edition? Do we want to
Saturday
hit?
night robot mentality.
So we had a few things. We talked about Robinhood. If you want to stay on the market topic, we could go with Davey Day Trader. If you want to go a little Coronas, we could talk about new normal, or we could get in a little bit of sports. We'll just give it like 10 minutes.
Let's.
What are you
I'm
feeling?
sick of the stock market. Let's talk. Let's talk about sports reopening up and how it's going to happen. So what I kind of realized in the last week or two, I work in athletics. We've talked about that before on the university level, like small university. So, and right now we're doing everything we can to put together plans and with compliance on how we're going to use facilities and testing for athletes when they return to campus.
Yeah.
And this is already happening on I guess not necessarily a broader sense, but like with D1 schools have their football teams in right
Mm-hmm.
now. MLB teams have, all their
Different
players reported at their
facilities.
camps.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work if coronavirus stays, with the significance that it has, like if everyone keeps giving it the
Which it
weight,
will. Yeah.
there's no way we're going to be able to play sports in the summer or fall.
Well,
Because like look what just happened with the Phillies. Or the Phillies just
like
shut down
5
their whole
people or whatever.
operation because 5 people broke out. Clemson
Well,
football, I think they had
Clemson
20 cases.
did. There were some hockey teams that did. There was an NFL team. It was the Buccaneers today or yesterday. Had 2 people.
Watch Tom Brady go down with it.
Yeah, I mean,
That'd
he'll be
be a
fine.
tragedy.
He's goated. He'll be fine.
TB12
The
baby.
the thing is, though, it gets back to just because you're completely right, and it doesn't help when we have this. And I can use the word for him. Absolute idiot, Fauci. The dude is legitimately an idiot. He has zero credibility at this point. Zero. Like go watch him from February, then go watch him in March, then go watch him in April. He flips the script every single day. So he's not a respectable doctor at this point at all. Zero. He knows nothing. But like literally 2 days ago, he's saying, "Oh, we can have NFL," and then yesterday he's saying, "It'd be extremely dangerous to have the NFL." And same thing with MLB. He was saying it doesn't look like we can play baseball. All this stupid stuff. Get him out of here. That's not helping anything. Okay.
Get him out of here.
But at some point, like, again, we have the numbers. You're already not going to be playing with fans. That's a given. Okay. If you're keeping players within their bubbles or whatever is the proposition for most of these sports leagues, these are some of the healthiest dudes in the world, and we have not. Plenty of major athletes have had this, especially in the NBA, and we have not. I don't even know how many have been symptomatic, right? So at some point you got to get over yourself because this thing's gonna linger for years. If we just blow up sports and blow up that whole aspect of our economy, then good luck. I mean, I don't know if the athletes are even gonna be for that one in the end, but. Because we're not going to have fans. I get the argument more if you have packed stadiums, but pretty much every single sports league at this point has already said no fans. So the MLB is still up in the air. But
Yeah, and if that's what we got to do to make it happen for this year.
my man Kevin Durant had coronavirus. He had a cough for a day, and after that he was chilling, right? So it's like, heck, lock all the Phillies in their locker room, have one dude start coughing, and they all get it and get it over with. Like, At some no, I'm serious. At some point, like just herd immunize or immunize, however, immunize, I guess is how you say it, and get it over with. Because if we're on the MLB is already in shambles of even existing at this point, And the
True.
NBA's, coming back. They're ready to roll, and it might get canceled now. And you gotta have sports. That is one of the biggest American economic drivers is sports and everything that surrounds sports, as far as travel, as far as media, everything. Like at some point you gotta do it because we literally know what coronavirus is and who's gonna be affected and how little that number actually is of deaths. That like get them out on the field. I don't know. I don't know. Give me a take. I can see the maybe the collegiate level being different things like that because obviously like a smaller school, it's not a pro sports team. There's not facilities. There's no way to, maybe not money to properly be testing. Maybe not money to have people in their own bubbles so they're not interacting with other people. Whatever, right? But if
Right.
you're freaking Clemson University, which they're already doing, you have your own training facilities. You can keep them in separate housing. You can do whatever, and then they can go play. And if they don't want to do it, they can opt out and whatever. Same thing with big sports teams. And that's they're all training at their facilities now. But go ahead. I digress.
Yeah, well, okay. If you had asked me this a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I'd be like, completely, yeah, screw it, go play. And I still feel that way. But I have so I hadn't, I was almost in the boat of saying coronavirus is, a hoax and all this. But I have a friend whose aunt, I guess she was like perfectly healthy, fine, and then just like got it and died in like a week out of nowhere, like on the ventilator, full 9 yards, all that. So that kind of made me, think again, like, okay, it's not completely a hoax, but like you said, we know who it affects pretty much and the low risk of it. So I still don't want to completely get away from being sensitive to that fact and that it is a thing. It's not complete hoax, right? I don't think anyone's necessarily claiming that. Some people are, but as far as sports go, it's just a value. Like, do we want to have them or not? Like, if we want to have them, I wouldn't even test. Like, what? You just have to have it and have everyone get it and get over it with it.
Yeah.
There's no possible way that if we're testing people every day before they come into a facility that teams aren't going to get shut down and then games are going to get canceled that week. And then like, so say a college football team has they just had a game against Auburn, so say Alabama, whatever. Alabama just has a game against Auburn. 3 days later, on Tuesday, while they're getting ready for their next game at Ole Miss, 4 of their players test positive for it coming into the facility. Well, okay, so now who they just played, Auburn, they're all gonna get tested.
Yeah.
They're gonna get shut down. Probably gonna have to cancel their game because, oh well, they might not test positive yet, but it doesn't test positive for 2 weeks. So they probably have it, so they got to cancel their next 2 games. Alabama's got to cancel their next 2 games, and in doing this, it completely ruins. Like, it would be such a trickle. Like, yeah, if one team has to shut down games in the middle of it, like, or from testing positive, the whole leagues are going to crumble. Like, this isn't going to exist. So you literally have to take away all validity that we're giving coronavirus if you want sports to actually exist. And while I'm okay with that, I don't think the greater
I think it's a
US
reach
is gonna be okay
for
with that.
the narrative for it to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if we start. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if the NBA finishes, for example, just because they don't have much of a season left, or they could shorten the playoffs and get it done.
A few teams.
I really don't think there will be an MLB season. I think there should be. I really don't think we'll have football, or at least traditional football. I think there should be, but I don't think there will be. I don't know what the NHL is going to do because they don't have much left, so they might be able to pull it off. But
yeah, that's a good point. I actually think, sorry to cut you off,
No,
I think there's a greater chance of us having NFL football than college football.
Yeah, that's true. Because
32 teams.
Plus from a money standpoint, the capabilities. And also, there are not many college, like, you got freaking Johnny Manziel on your team in college. That dude's definitely sneaking out of the bubble to go party. So, it's like, that's college for you. But I don't know. And again, like you said, they're perfectly healthy people have died, but that's just, very, very, very select outliers. And at some point, we're going to have to decide overall, because everybody's free, Arizona's reclosing parts of the state, and California's reclosing some things as other states are opening. And St. Louis will reclose just because of who we're ran by the way. I will bet money on it. But it's, like, we only continue to damage ourselves. It goes back to the how many lives are worth one coronavirus death is the question. So I don't think we're gonna have an answer for that until honestly, if Trump gets reelected, without getting too political here, if Trump gets reelected, I think will strictly be open and he will support that because he won't have another campaign to ride on, right? Because it's his last
True.
term. Until then, I think we'll be in limbo. Until November, we will be doing the same every week. Like Florida has more cases and people don't understand they've increased testing like freaking eightfold every single day. So, of course, they're going to have more cases because everybody's asymptomatic with this damn thing that spreads it. So it's just like it's a big headache, and I don't know. We hope to see sports. I don't think they'll happen. It would be nice to have the NBA for a bit, even though I'm not a big NBA guy. But hope
I'd
Zion
love to watch
makes a
some
historic
NBA
run.
playoffs. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be
I
fun.
think leagues will come. I think we're going to have professional sports, in the next few months. But if I could definitely see seasons getting canceled or postponed again, or I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens with colleges. But I was totally optimistic about it. But then when I started to see, the Phillies and Clemson, then that kind of made me be like, well, if this is how we're going to react every time, it's going to be interesting to see, what teams play them and how the schedules go. But
we're back to this like March reaction on it, where it's like, it's like end of the world type of thing. So I don't know. Yeah, with how the teams have reacted now, I'm not very positive. But kind of branching on that, I hate NCAA like with a passion across the board. So if they take the brunt of this, I will not care one bit. They can collapse. That they abuse their college athletes in the first place, in my opinion. So if they don't make it out of this, they can cancel all their stuff and be unfortunate for the
NAIA
players.
takeover, baby.
It will be better in the long run for these players if there's actual, like the NBA has the G League where you can actually, it's not as hyped as playing for Duke, but you can actually just go actually make money if you're good enough to play in the G League at a high school, right?
Did you say you're not going to make as much money as Duke? I didn't catch that.
No. I said it's not as prestigious as playing at Duke.
Oh, okay.
Which Zion made a fat amount playing at Duke, by the way, with all the under the table endorsements. But
that's why I laughed.
And then his agent calls him out on it, which was kind of ironic. Yeah, so don't fire if you have skeletons in the closet with an agent. Probably not a good idea to fire the agent. Yeah, but
that's a good life lesson, just about more than agents.
If you have skeletons in the closet with anybody and then you out them, you're probably gonna get outed yourself. So yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind. But
it'd be a good thing to sign off on.
It was like with the XFL too that it got killed from this. They went bankrupt sadly. They were on a good roll too. If they got to finish their season, I think they would have been actually.
They would have had a good season.
That was going to be a good opportunity, and people were already saying that out of high school you could go sign a $500,000 contract to play 8 games with the XFL. And you're actually making money. You're actually really getting scouting because I think the final number, it was over like 20 dudes that the XFL got signed to NFL teams after their season ended. That could be a real scouting opportunity. You could get real freaking, primetime college players in there eventually if it was good enough because, why do I want to go to Clemson, which I get, the prestige obviously, but to you're playing a physical sport like football, you could get paralyzed tomorrow and that's it. You didn't make any money off of what you're doing other than your education, which you probably didn't even have time to do, right?
Yeah.
When you could go make, even if it's $200,000 a year playing the XFL for 2 years, then you either get drafted or you don't. That's $400,000 you can go pay for your school after and you can be out of there. So
yeah, I'm totally an advocate of that. I think without getting into it too much, I think college is not what it's cracked up to be. It still kind of is because you need some things it gives you. But I would love to see a society that progresses away from traditional education.
Yeah. So we can wrap it up here shortly, but I want to ask you one thing. Without name dropping the school, you work athletic department at a small university. Are like the current plans? Are they pretty optimistic about actually having sports or freaking like? I guess you would kind of know too if they have one case on campus, is the campus closed and that's just it for the semester?
See, that's what I don't know, and we haven't had a case yet. So I think Okay, we're optimistic about.
We are bound to have a case there. Like I think at
It's
most colleges
impossible
there will at
not.
least be
Yeah.
one. You know, so
Right. So we're optimistic about opening and having in-person classes to a decent capacity in the fall. Like there's definitely gonna be some classes that are gonna have to be online. I think we've been very optimistic leading up, but I really think that this news of these kind of smaller outbreaks from sports teams is gonna be very stressful to uh, to
yeah,
figure out. I know we were planning on doing mass testing from people entering facilities, and it's not. I just think there's most likely gonna be cases, and then I don't know where it's gonna go from there. But
yeah.
I think there is optimism to have sports because we really need them. Like that's
At a sports
without getting
oriented
much
school,
into.
yeah,
Yeah, a sports focused school that that's kind of their business model. So it's gonna hurt the school a lot if they don't have sports. So we're gonna do what we can, but you also got to be compliant and um, I'm just gonna say compliant because you could say do what's in everyone's best interest in their health, but I don't necessarily fall for all that. But you gotta fall in line. So
yeah,
I don't know what's gonna happen. That's kind of what I'm thinking with these headlines, and it'll be interesting to see. And we're all in trouble if people weren't getting laid off, and now if who knows if there's no sports season in the fall, it's not good for people that work in
yeah.
athletics. So we'll see.
It's not good for athletes either. It's just screwing over a whole nother class of potential
Athletes,
drafts or potential whatever, right? So
athletics will fall apart to an
yeah,
extent if we let them.
yeah, yeah. So prayers
Yeah.
that people kind of open their eyes and we kind of get chugging,
Or close
but
them, whichever way you want to look at
oh, yeah,
it.
that's true. Yeah, or close them, turn a blind eye, because it gets back to that argument where if 20 people in St. Louis die, is it worth literally running every university you have in St. Louis out of business over? It's like it's just the ultimatum type of stuff, and I would
Uh,
opt for greatest amount of good, but I know it's more
yeah, yeah, exactly.
complicated than that.
I don't want anyone to die from
Yeah,
coronavirus,
yeah,
yeah,
but
but
yeah, and
tricky line to walk. So we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot more insight in the next few
you
weeks
want
of
to you want to bet
what's
another
going on.
pizza on this? I was
I
telling
no,
you last week, I was like, dude, we will end up reclosing, and we
I
shouldn't
don't want
do
to
it,
put
but
any
we.
bets on my livelihood. I think
Oh, okay, that's true.
you
Yeah,
want to talk like we won't have like a full shutdown again. I know that. I would bet on that.
I wouldn't be surprised if
That we
St.
don't
Louis
have
County
another
gets shut down, though.
another stay-at-home order.
I would not be shocked in certain
What you want to
areas like St.
you
Louis
want to
County. I don't think
double or
anywhere where
nothing?
I live would, but
Yeah, I really don't see that happening. I feel like that'd be a bad bet, but I
what's
mean I'd take it.
what's
But I already
funny
got a
is
pizza going
though
my way.
that's true. Yeah, we need to get the pizza, but
We gotta hang out.
yeah, we do need to hang out. What's funny though, so in St. Louis, I guess I won't freaking name drop the places, but where I go to yoga, right? Super concerned about being compliant, and I don't think they really care. They just want to fall in line with what our politicians are saying in St. Louis County. But then right down the street at a gym, literally, freaking 300 feet away, they don't give a crap, and I don't blame them. But it's like, it's tough because I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but like, there's such polar opposites on because there's so many narratives going at once. It's like you can care about Corona or you just don't want to be compliant to people kind of impinging on your rights as a business owner, right? So all these business owners have their own spin on it, but then that inflates whatever numbers are going on again. And then we reclose it. And it's all just a complicated, like, there's so many things intertwining at once, and everybody has their own different reason for it. If that makes
And you
sense.
can't
That's the
necessarily
dumbest thing
yeah.
I've ever said, probably, but
Well, you just can't necessarily. It shows you can't necessarily blame people for having opposing views, but you'd wish. I don't know.
well,
I
it's
get
not
what
that I
you're saying.
wish. I definitely don't wish everybody falls in line with exactly what they're being told, but it's like I don't know. It comes back to bite you, and the sad thing, it comes back to bite you because all these, politicians are already impeding your rights. But it's like a cycle, and it's gonna keep spinning, and I don't think it's gonna get worse before it gets better, most likely. Sadly.
Yeah,
But,
and the whole situation is kind of a catch-22 in itself when
yeah.
it comes to forming an opinion and deciding what to do. But we shall see.
Yeah. Well, I'll take my
Alrighty.
$7,000 to get injected with the trial vaccine. You want to go with me?
I'm down. Yeah, I'll take $7,000 pretty much any way I can get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that does it for episode 15 of the Robot Mentality Podcast. Saturday night, little Saturday night action. It was good talking to you, Nick. Good catching up. So,
good catching up.
Robots,
it's the only action I've had in a while. Robots.
We will see you. Nick, sign us out.
All right. Good night, robots.
All right. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Very epic. Very cool.